excited to see what Karen has for us today. It is her first for the professional speaking manual, and her title is called The Joy of Toastmasters. Please help me welcome Karen Rogers.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I'm going to start today with a question. It's a serious question. Why did you join Toastmasters? I want you to think about it for a minute. I know that you have reasons. I joined for two reasons. My first reason was to become a better speaker. My second reason was to network and meet new people. Today I'm going to share my Toastmasters journey with you because you are part of it. That is the one thing that we all have in common, is that we're all Toastmasters. Let me begin. I started off, I'm a science teacher, and I started off teaching high school biology. I'm still teaching, but part-time. I started in Ottawa, Kansas, in Ottawa High School. I was a cyclone for 6 years. Cyclone. And then I took my second teaching job, which was at Olathe North High School. It was a little bit closer to where I was living. And I was an Eagle for 13 years. After 19 years, I started to feel stagnant. I think it's safe to say that if you do anything for 19 years, it can become a little routine. And I started having these dreams. I started having these dreams about, I want to be a speaker, an author, a presenter. And when I would talk about that with people, they'd say, well, have you ever tried Toastmasters? And I didn't know what that was, but it sounded like an extracurricular club, and I certainly didn't have any extra time. But that was the first time I actually heard of Toastmasters. Today, where I'm at today is I would like to be some sort of combination of these people. What I like to do is I like to give a lesson that helps people, but I also like to wear wigs, tell jokes, play music, a little like Bill Nye the Science Guy. And so he's a little bit like my idol. Next to Bill is Harry and Rosemary Wong. They are professional speakers and they write books. They write the best books and provide the best materials on how to be a teacher. They actually give these step-by-step guides. Have a seating chart, stand at the door. And a lot of books don't have great books, or a lot of authors don't have great books like that. So I really like them and I want to be like them. I also like crafts and gardening, like Martha Stewart. I like motivating, like Tony Robbins, Brad's title, and Mike Dooley. And sometimes I think I'm funny, like these guys. I'd love to be like Ellen or Chelsea Handler, just be funny as a comedian. So I thought, how can I accomplish this? And I thought, they say to start where you're at with what you've got. So I decided to try to be Bill Nye online, which is why I started the YouTube channel. And ideally, I'd like to be like Ro Pacino. She is a very successful YouTube star, and she teaches people how to make cakes. Second, as I stopped teaching, I had some extra time, and I could read some good books. And one of the books that I read that I really liked was a book called Infinite Possibilities, and that's by this guy, Mike Dooley. And he's similar to Tony Robbins, maybe a little bit different, but similar in that nature. And I loved his book, and his story is interesting because he was an accountant for 19 or I don't know how many years, but he was an accountant for a long time and then gave it up to become a writer and a speaker. Well, he said he started at Toastmasters. And so I thought to myself, well, this is the time. I've got to try this out. Let me check it out. I've heard about it. My idol has been a Toastmaster, and I have the time to do it. So I did a quick Google search. Toastmasters, Olathe, and Olathe Sunrise Speakers popped right up. And I found out it was at Garmin. And Garmin is fantastic. I love Garmin. Who doesn't love Garmin? And Garmin is only 2 miles from my house. So I called, or I actually emailed. It started with an email to Chris Johnson. And they said, yeah, this is perfect for you. Come and see how you like it. So I came to this room, and I was really warmly greeted by everybody. And I like that about Toastmasters. But I remember meeting Lois and John and Mark and Larry, and if you remember, Sharon and Travis, some of those guys. But at my very first meeting, Lois said, here, try table topics. So I came up here for table topics, and I thought, oh, I know how to speak. I've been doing this for a career for 19 years. And I came to this stage and looked at all these people and got asked an impromptu question and got so nervous. And I froze, but I did speak something. I don't remember what it was, but I remember the speech was 57 seconds. I don't remember what it was, but I remember the time. Well, the next thing I know, I joined Toastmasters, I got a mentor, I got the manuals, and I started attending meetings, and I gave my first speech. I even tried the humorous speech contest. Well, the humorous speech contest, I couldn't go wrong, especially at the club level, because there was no competition. All I had to do was stay within the time. Well, I failed. I went over the time by a couple seconds, and I'm still a little bit bitter about that. I felt like I got ripped off, but that's what happened. I don't mind failing because I think that's when you learn the most. But as I struggled with my bitterness, I started thinking, oh, I don't know about Toastmasters. I don't know about this whole thing. I started to rethink Toastmasters for a couple reasons. Number one is because there was no structured, or it was just so highly structured. There was no time just to talk and to exchange ideas. And the high level of structure seemed to me that we never really got to know each other. Now, I understand why we do it that way, because if you don't, meetings go, they ramble. So I understand that, but it was a little hard to adjust. Secondly, I don't know that anybody really likes criticism. I didn't like giving it, and I didn't like receiving it. Again, I now understand that you have to have that. That's part of the club, because otherwise you won't get better. That you don't have to take everything to heart, but somebody might have a good idea. But I was struggling with that a little bit. And the other thing I was struggling with a little bit was it seemed a little hokey at sometimes, the speeches. After I didn't do so well at my humorous speech contest, I looked up on YouTube. You know, I love YouTube. Okay, how do you do a great Toastmaster speech? And I found these guys. And this is Darren LaCroix. He's a winning speaker. And in this speech, it was called Ouch. He gets on the stage and falls down. Maybe twice. The whole idea was, if you fall down, it's okay. Keep going, get back up. Great speech, but come on, you know, the whole falling down, I'm thinking, I don't know if this is exactly me. This guy is another Darren. His name is Darren Tay, and he was also a winning speaker. Well, as you can see, he put on underwear over his professional clothes, and his message was how to overcome bullying in high school, or in school. I don't know if it was high school or not, but so they were great speeches, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, it's just too hokey, it's a little too forced, I don't know that this is exactly me. But I kept going. And for speech number 7 in the speaking manual, you have to do a research project, and you have to go and research something. So I decided, why don't I research Toastmasters? And when I did that, I found that there were some other critics of Toastmasters, and that made me feel a little bit better. It's like I'm not alone in my thinking. but I also found some really interesting things about it. To me, it's so interesting that Ralph Smedley, he started it was almost 100 years ago. He started having these little speaking clubs for men, and he was at the YMCA, and he wanted for people to become better speakers. And now that club, Toastmasters, has grown to over 16,000 clubs. That's a lot, and it's in over 140 countries. And I thought that was really impressive. And the other thing that I really like about him is the idea that he has in his quote, "Whatever your grade or position, if you know how and when to speak and when to remain silent, your chances of real success are proportionally increased." And I thought, you know what, that's true. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep going. This is really exciting. I could go to China and attend a Toastmasters meeting. So I have since then worked through the Competent Communicator Manual, and I'm working on my YouTube channel. And after you get through that 10th speech, you get to choose a new manual, and there's a selection of about 15. And there it was, communicating on video. I'm like, that's exactly what I need, communicating on video. And then this one is the professional speaking manual, and there's more that I'm interested in because I think they would help with my goals. Storytelling, entertaining, there's technical speaking. So you can advance into an area that you are interested in. And so I like that. It's encouraged me, and I enjoy going through and challenging myself at these different manuals. So when I look at my first goal, I wanted to join Toastmasters to become a better speaker. I'm reaching that goal. I'm doing it. The second thing that I wanted to do in Toastmasters was to meet new people. And that's exactly what I got. And really good quality people. I'm thinking about Mark, the time that we had to give our presentation for the young professionals. He said, I started out, I was going to give 10 speeches, and I was going to give out, 10 speeches and then get out, and now I'm the club president. And he really likes the meetings, and he likes meeting the people, just seeing everybody at the meetings and the people, and I agree with Mark. And then, of course, John. I always think of John as a leader, and he always is really smooth as a Toastmaster. And then Larry and Mike. I think that's just great people, like Larry and Mike. You guys are our link to Garmin, and you do so much work setting up that we all are so thankful for that. Brad is my inspiration for... He grabs new members better than anybody I've ever known, and he also is my inspiration for speaking and doing well in contests. He not only participates, but he wins, and so I'm like, okay, I got to be like Brad. And then, of course, we have Nancy, who's a pastor, and we have Diane, who's a financial advisor, and Sheila. I remember Sheila said something to me that was really interesting. She said, I'm not as really interested in the speaking, I'm interested in the leadership. And that made me think a little bit differently, because I was always thinking about speaking. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. And she's a good leader, and she's helped me work through some manuals. And then we have Jared and Sean and fairly new members, and that's always exciting. And that's also something nice about Toastmasters, is that you get new people, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to network. And then when we were in the chamber, that was even a bigger opportunity to meet people in the community. And so that goal, I feel, is being met as well. So what now? I think to myself, what's it going to be next? Will I end up attending conferences? Will I end up becoming a distinguished Toastmaster? Will I end up having to get a job? I'm supposed to be subbing today, but that's the beauty of subbing. I can come in a little late, but will I end up getting a job that will take me out of Late Sunrise Speakers? If so, would I join another Toastmasters at a different time? say in the evenings. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm having fun, so I'm just going to keep on working through my manuals and coming to the meetings and enjoying it and not really worrying about what's next. I'm going to tell you a funny story just to kind of wrap this up a little bit. When I started, it was really difficult for me to stay within the time frame. I'm a teacher, and we are notorious for talking way too much, way too long. You know, remember your teachers, okay, we got it the first 5 times you said it. And I can speak about, I can talk about the parts of a stem for over an hour. And so I had these speeches that were 4 to 6 minutes, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to cut what do I cut out? And then I tried the open mic comedy, and with open mic comedy, you only get 3 minutes to speak. And then with the YouTube channel, I've noticed with the YouTube channel, the average view time is 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And all my videos, not all, but most, are much longer than that. So I'm trying to cut back, cut back, cut back. And then I get this manual. And in this professional speaking manual, all the speeches are 15 to 20 minutes. So if you like to speak, this is the manual to get. I like the story of Helen Blanchard. She's a famous Toastmaster. She was the first female Toastmaster, and they weren't allowing women in at the time when she joined. And so she had to join under a man's name. That's when she registered. She sent that in. And then she, after they allowed women to join Toastmasters, she jumped right in there and eventually became the club president. And I really like what she says. She says, if you get out of Toastmasters all there is to get out of Toastmasters, you'll never get out of Toastmasters. And I agree with her. I think if you want to challenge yourself and try new things, that this is a safe and it's a good place to be. I started the speech with a question. I'll end the speech with a question. What's the next thing that you want to achieve? Do you want to try to attend a conference? Do you want to try a new speech? Is there another speech that you've got to give? Do you want to try a speech contest? Do you want to take on a new leadership role? Do you want to try to be the Toastmaster? I say whatever it is, whatever your goals are, go for it. I'm on your side. Thank you for being my fellow Toastmasters.
Great job, Karen. We can see our teaching experience. You're very comfortable on stage.